rotting driftwood on the foreign shores, spilling out into the ocean floor, and the memories all you've left without a trace. Paralyzed with the thoughts receding, current sweeps you with the silent bleeding through the heart into the darkest place. Well, turn around, there's nothing to see here. Run away, no reason to be here. It's the ghost who never goes away. Turn around and leave this behind now. You see the ground as it bleeds in the sky now. You fight the sea, you're always gonna drown. All the secrets that you're holding, all the memories you hide, all the frail thoughts that echo in the corners of your mind, they won't even last a moment. They will soon be swept away when the ocean takes you in its arms and carries you away. You carry all your burdens on the cross around your neck. You take whatever's left that you could salvage from the wreck, and the hard past will follow you like a lost dog on the beach, nipping at your trail till you've drifted out of reach. Yeah, turn around, there's nothing to see here. Run away, no reason to be here. It's the ghost who never goes away. Turn around and leave this behind now. See the ground as it bleeds to the sky now. You fight the sea, you're always gonna drown. In the broken line horizon, in the castles made of sand, you tried to hold it in your hands, you tried to understand it. The ocean asks the questions, and it holds the answers too. It dissolves away the lies about the things you thought you knew.
Hello, my friends. 'Tis I, Dame Imager Kalyaranya. My heart and my sword are yours. And 'tis I, Adulath Karakai II, bastard son of a real bastard. Your hearts are mine. And as is our tradition for now 12 streams running, on these Sunday mornings US, Sunday evenings UK, we are joined by John BloodRedTiger Whitehead. Good morning / evening, my friend. Welcome.
Hello.
This is, well, has been quite a successful stream series in the sense of we're keeping it running. We're now on chapter 45 of this Buffy the Vampire fanfiction out of 77. At this pace, we will probably wrap it up around the end of the year, or perhaps early 2026. So I'm proud of the both of us for keeping this thing going. My last week has been a little up and down emotionally, maybe, but I've been really getting into several pieces of media to entertain myself. I'm on a bit of a video games are good kick. I have so many games that I've been like really eager to play more of. For my birthday last weekend, my wife got me Hollow Knight, not the new shiny one, but the original, because I had not played the original. I had briefly played the original when we had like Steam family sharing. She owns it, and I played just like maybe half an hour to an hour of it. But when Steam changed their rules and setup for Steam family sharing, I lost access to it. I tried to get family sharing set back up so that we could share our collections again, but I think the new like verification process requires that you have the Steam mobile app set up. She didn't have that. We went to set it up and she's like, I don't know my Steam password anymore. I can't figure out what my Steam password is. And we were scared to try to reset it. So currently we're not linked anymore. So she needed to get me my own copy of Hollow Knight to start playing it. And I've been enjoying that one. She's been, watching over my shoulder because she's a huge fan of particularly the art style and the setting of it. It's a little bit too challenging action-wise for her to make a lot of progress in it. She's all right with the platforming segments, but boss fights tend to give her a bit of a trouble. Have you played any of those, John?
No. No, I'm very out of touch with games and stuff. I tend to play low effort, racy games, Beat Saber, just stuff. I try not to play anything that needs me to get too in depth, because I will just OCD latch onto it and then just vanish for a month.
Which is kind of what's happening to me, I suppose. Although like it's not necessarily hyperfixing on a single game so much as like Hollow Knight is one of them that I've been into. But also for my birthday, partner Many got me Hades 2. And I've been loving that one and playing a bunch of that one. That's also, late to the party in the other direction on that one, in that I never played the original Hades, but am playing Hades 2. That was kind of... Oh, hello, Rain. Good day to you. The little beetle for Hollow Knight. Yeah. The original Hades looked intriguing to me. It certainly looked like the kind of game I would enjoy, but you know how for my streams and stuff, I tend to focus on, it's not exclusively, but focus on games with lady protagonists and, sort of queer games and indie, this kind of thing. The little, like, more off the beaten path games. It's like Hades 1 is like, it's indie, but it's just blisteringly successful indie, such that it might as well be a large studio game, and it's got a dude in the lead. So like, okay. And Hades 2 was announced, and I was like, okay, see, that's more like my style. You got Melinoe, the princess of the underworld, as the heroine. So I was like, okay, I'll just wait and play Hades 2 when that one comes out of early access. So I never got around to playing the original. I'm probably going to put the original on my wish list now because the gameplay of it is just brilliant. I'm just sucked me right in. I've played it enough already to get a run to the second phase of the final boss after a pretty intensive few days. And that's really just the scratching the surface, because I've got several other games that I'm excited about playing too. I've been enjoying multiplayer Risk of Rain 2, and I want to get back to making progress in Final Fantasy XIV's main quest line. There's more game stuff that I'm excited about playing than I have time to do, which is unusual for me because oftentimes over the last year or so, it's been like, I look at my gigantic, look at my Steam library. It's probably not as extensive as some people's, but large Steam library. And I just go like, I don't even know what of this I want to play. And I kind of, and then I go look at YouTube or something. But now I've got these, half a dozen games. I'm like, man, I really want to play this one, but I want to play that one. But I want to play, yeah, so. And I've also gone down a rabbit hole with the classic cult webcomic Homestuck. Are you familiar, John?
I'm aware of it.
Yeah, it's hard.
I looked at it long time ago, but I never got stuck to it.
Yeah.
Intended.
It's hard not to be at least a little bit aware of it because of how notorious a cultural phenomenon it is, and how notorious its fandom is in turn. Like, if you've been in the convention circuit at all, the hordes of Homestuck fans in a certain period of time were quite notorious for making a mess of the place and making, fools out of themselves, so on so forth. But again, late to the party phenomenon. I wasn't there on the ground when Homestuck was first being written. I, heard about it, and over a couple of occasions, tried reading it. One occasion, I started reading it like, this is really inane. I didn't get past the first few pages. Heard a little bit more about it, like, it's one of those things that the beginning is kind of clumsy, and they didn't really know where they were going with it, but after the first act, or what I call the chapters, it starts to come into its own. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll give it a little bit more space. Read the first act or two of it, and then started to get overwhelmed with how dense of a text it becomes after a little while. It layers so many details on so thick that there was like a recap kind of chapter at one of the breakpoints, and the recap was like 5 pages long or something, and I'm trying to refresh my memory on things like by following this recap, and just the recap was overwhelming me, so I I sputtered out on it. But about a month ago, I guess, an animated pilot came out for a pitched animated series of it. And it's a pretty bewildering piece of animation as far as the storyboarding and just the content of it is concerned, but it's a really well-made piece of, moving picture. It's very clever, very visually entertaining. Hello, Roinicorn. So, sort of, and it turns out that several of the good friends in the Castle Rania Discord server, including Rain there in the chat, are Homestucks or ex recovered Homestucks, folks who know the lore and the fandom fairly well. Unstuck, yeah. People who have come unstuck, yeah. And so we got into a couple of interesting conversations about the property. So I have been bit by bit watching a YouTube series called Let's Read Homestuck, which is, voiceover work over the comic, and kind of the comic in its original form is somewhat interactive. There are pieces of flash animation in it and little flash mini games in it. So you don't get the interactive piece of it, but it's sort of like watching a let's play of someone who's doing voices of the non-interactive pieces and playing through the interactive pieces. So I'm working my way through that. But yeah, it's been a very media-filled week. I've not been keeping up on my journaling because I keep staying up late playing games, but this coming week I've got off from work, so in addition to, catching up on the housework and so forth, I'm gonna, see if I can get back into some of my routines creatively. Maybe there will be an extra stream or two here and there. If so, it'll be over on Twitch. I'll pick out one of those games I'm excited about to put onto Twitch. Anyway, this has been a long ramble of me talking about my entertainment from the past week. What have you been up to, John?
Played an hour and a half of Beat Saber with a friend the other day who's just getting into it, so that's always very frustrating because you have to put it on a low skill level while the other person just fumbles through.
Aww.
But that's okay. He's getting better. That's good.
And this is okay. So this is not your 70-year-old friend who likes to play Beat Saber. This is a new acquaintance. Hello, Martha.
No, yeah. This is somebody else. And from basically hammering that and Dungeons of Eternity, I've lost nearly 3 kilos this month, so that's okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm not wasting away. I do weigh exactly twice as much as my girlfriend at the moment.
Oh.
But that's good. It's good exercise. Burn some calories.
God, I would love to try those games. Beat Saber seems like it would be exactly my jam, given how into Dance Dance Revolution I was back in my late teens, early 20s.
I would heartily recommend it, but first you do need to try the hardware, because some people cannot wear it.
Yeah.
There are people for who the motion sickness is too bad, and then there are people who just put it on and immediately feel sick without moving.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, don't be one of those.
I think many have a headset that I could try at some point when I visit over there.
You will love Beat Saber.
Mm-hmm.
You will love it. It is so satisfying when you get just into that flow state.
Yeah.
And you're just wiggling your arms around at that point and listening to the music. It's great.
Plus, swords. Lightsabers.
Yeah.
I mean, chopping up cubes. Or whatever
the thing is, also, for the rest of your life then, you will know that your left hand is red and your right hand is blue.
Ah. Yeah. And of course, the hardware itself is quite expensive. I'm usually pretty pinched for spending money, so maybe I need to find a cheap used one or something. Yeah.
Try it first. Find one and try it, and make sure that you are VR compatible.
Right.
That's step one.
Man, I remember when I was a little kitten, I mean, probably middle school, when virtual reality was like first becoming a technology that they were experimenting with. There was like a VR cabinet in the arcade, and it looked like a shower stall you'd step into. This thing over your head. Anyway, I never got to try it. I only got to see like the little view screen on the outside that showed what the person inside was looking at, and it was very, very low polygon, chunky people. It's very funny. Like, thank you, Mortham. That is your catchphrase for everyone. That voice. Yeah. Oh man, I had a dream the other night that I was doing even better with my voice. I'm like, I'm never satisfied. I know that my pitch lands in more of a androgynous range. I need to somehow lift it up a little bit further. Left hand is red, right hand is blue. Yu-Gi-Oh lied to you? Is it something different in Yu-Gi-Oh? Okay. Anyway, long intro, jabber, stretch. I'm feeling chatty today, I suppose. Yap yap goes the collie. Alright, we should do some reading of a story. Chapter 45. Just let me do my thing. You need to level up Machinist if you want to make your Mortham cosplay in Final Fantasy XIV. Is it because the Machinist has the goggles that are the best fit for your style? Old, like 10 years ago, staple cards Fire and Ice Hand are Fire on the right, Ice on the left. Okay. Buffy launches a desperate rescue mission. Right. Where we left off last time, the broker demon Murgon, yes?
Yep.
Has drugged and captured Mickey the Imp. Turns out that one way to get through her superpowered defenses is to take advantage of her naivete and cheerful, kind demeanor and slip something into her soda pop. Knocked her right out, carried her off to a secret lair, and is now tapping her veins for her fancy devil blood and scrying into her memories to take video of them, also for sale and entertainment purposes, I guess. Also just like
intelligence in general, yeah.
Yeah. Now, is the fact that she was drugged a problem for tapping her blood? Like, is the blood now going to be laced? Or maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's part of the deal. Maybe you want to have a high when you drink your devil blood.
I honestly never thought of that. Never thought of that at all.
Didn't think that angle. Okay.
It's quite funny, actually.
Yeah, supernaturally empowered blood is a viable vampiric method? Vampiric method of what? It depends on the roofie, yeah.
Let's just say imp ingredients are not good for magic.
Are not good for magic?
No.
As in, they're not like useful reagents for doing summonings or whatever, that kind of thing?
It will be explained, but
okay.
Basically, yeah, Mickey is just trouble.
Method of a vampire operating in a vampiric manner. That doesn't clarify, I'm sorry. I still don't know what you mean. All right. Adjusting some volumes a little bit more here. Okay. Imp ingredients, yes. Bits of imp. You would think that, like, imp wing would be something that a witch would throw into her cauldron or whatever, though. Or imp horn. But not in this universe, apparently. Or not in this setting. Okay. Oh, I hear somebody coming down the stairs. Hang on. Okay. My blood has been filled with the power of the senior partners. Oh, right. I'm pretty sure even though things like Frog Eye and whatnot are referring to plants. Yeah, probably in real life witchery. Things like that. Old-timey nickname, yeah, but these days in contemporary urban fantasy and whatever, it's often often more literal. Yeah, but you're probably right about that. Eye of Newt and whatnot. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of magical practitioners in urban fantasies, here we go. The green-eyed man left the magic user to his rambling and went to study the laptop in the corner. He'd started the online auction as soon as he realized what he had, and the bids were already enough to make this an extremely profitable venture, even accounting the cost of Gus and his half-dozen bodyguards. He spotted a flashing icon in the corner of the screen and frowned. A click brought up the feed from his security cameras, and the picture wasn't good.
Intruders,
He called to the mage.
You hold them off, protect the girl. I'll get the merchandise to a safe place.
He scooped up his aluminum flight case and checked the contents were secure. Several small glass containers, a plastic bag, 2 pouches of devil blood, and 2 60-minute video cassettes. He ran to the girl and grabbed the last pouch, pulling the pipe out and letting the blood run free. The girl was tough. A little more blood loss wouldn't make things much worse. He stuffed the pouch into the case and snapped it shut before reaching up to pop open the... tap into the right window... camcorder. The final tape had the most interesting information. Footage of infernal rituals and strange spells he'd never heard of before, and their analysis could be priceless. A rest of frog sandwiches. Nice. He grabbed the tape and ran for the stairs that led out of the basement. It sounded like the intruders were getting close, and the door was his only route to safety. That safety proved to be far out of reach as the door burst in and a demon tumbled down the stairs in a welter of blood and viscera. A small blonde girl stood in the doorway, axes held low at her sides. Her eyes were hard and furious as she took in the scene, quickly locking onto the frame at the center of the room. Murgon subdued the glue in the glue! The glue in his eyes! No! His eyes are glued shut, but he subdued it. Oh no. Okay. Interesting to see a tech-savvy villain this low on the totem pole. Murgon subdued the glow in his eyes, pulled back his demon heritage to present himself as fully human.
Thank God you're here.
He cried, keeping his distance for the moment.
I'm a doctor. These monsters kidnapped me, made me do things.
Bullshit. Buffy spat, gripping her axes in white-knuckled rage as she marched down the steps. They had Mickey chained onto some kind of metal rack, with tubes in her arms and a camera watching her face as she raved and rambled incoherent nonsense. Her wings and tail hung limp beneath her, unsupported by the frame, probably unseen by the demon who'd built it. Judging by the evil aura Buffy was sensing, Mickey still had enough power to keep her illusion running. Plus, she still had her clothes on, a dainty black dress, so they hadn't tried anything weird with the holy water. At the back of the room stood yet another Caitiff demon, this one with fancy robes and neon face paint. Buffy had to split her attention between the guy with the case, most likely Murgon the kidnapper, and the possible wizard. Whoever acted first would die first, she decided. The mage volunteered, raising a wrinkly hand and launching a sparkly ball her way. The attack was so obvious she dodged it easily despite the projectile's speed, ducking beneath it in a stylish commando roll. It spattered into the concrete steps behind her, spitting and sparking, but there was no explosion, no burst of acid or whatever. Buffy grinned, and when the second projectile came, she stepped forward and smacked it back, using the flat of her axe like a tennis racket. The mage shrieked in alarm and dived out of the way. The ball flashed by and set fire to the heavy curtain behind him. A hand gripped her ankle weakly from behind, and Buffy looked back to see that the bodyguard hadn't quite expired from his injuries. She raised her axe to finish him off, and the doctor chose that moment to bolt for freedom. Nuh-uh. She wasn't having that, and instead of swinging the axe down, she flung it horizontally. The man was halfway up the stairs in the space of a single breath, but didn't quite outrun the weapon, which carved through his shoulder, throwing him forward. Something dropped from his hand and bounced down the stairs, but he was understandably busy running for his life and paid it no attention. The mage yelled a string of guttural curses and threw a magical barrier around the slayer. Buffy grunted a few choice words of her own as the green-eyed man made his escape. Another villain that would leave behind a human-seeming corpse. Yeah, she has both. Sometimes has some real clothes, or some physically manifested clothes, and some illusory clothes. Yeah. And I guess some regular, ordinary, physical clothes without ectoplasm. Yeah.
Yeah, she does have some that are real that she can summon.
Oh, right, yeah. So, regular clothes, sometimes stashed in hammer space, ectoplasmic clothes, illusory touches. There's different layers of how real Mickey's clothing is. Mickey was the priority. Rescue, then damage control. Revenge would come later. Buffy took a few slashes at the force field, which circled her in a dirty orange haze. She tried pushing through it, and felt it give slightly, but not enough. The mostly dead bodyguard chose that moment to cough up his last, spattering his lifeblood on her already ruined leather jeans. The blonde vampire, Sven, appeared at the door in full game face. He was covered in blood and his sword was broken, but he froze in shock at the scene.
Icky!
He rushed down the stairs and was immediately trapped in a second force bubble.
Bastard!
He roared.
Coward! I'll kill you!
The mage kept one hand toward them, his face a mask of concentration as he kept both spells in place. "Stay back," he shouted, taking a step toward the metal frame. "Stay back, or the girl dies." Buffy slashed again and again at the shield, seeing the flicker of pain as the mage struggled to repair the damage. "You lay one hand on her and you'll regret it, I promise." The demon's face twisted in a grin as the slayer raged helplessly. "Really?" He advanced on the bound devil girl and slowly ran his clawed fingertips over Miki's black dress, tracing the sweetheart neckline, before placing a heavy hand on her breast and giving a deliberate squeeze. His sadistic smirk vanished. My magic, he gasped, backing away. What? The two projected shields wavered for a second, then fizzled to nothing. The mage stared at his hand in horror, backing away from the frame in a panic. The rescuers didn't wait for a better invitation, each taking a different route around the metal frame as they charged toward the wizard. He threw his hands out, launching a sparkly ball from each. Buffy deflected hers without effort, but the other punched clean through Sven's chest. He turned to Ash a split second later. Buffy winced but didn't slow down, leaping the last few yards and lopping the mage's head up from his shoulders with a savage yell. The body crumpled to the ground, the head landing with a dull thud, but the slayer was already at the metal frame, looking for the best way to free her friend. The imp was secured in place, on her back with her arms spread out. A thin plastic tube in her right arm was dripping blood onto the floor, so Buffy dealt with that one first, plucking the needle free and pressing her thumb against the wound so it would clot. She figured it wouldn't take long. The rescuers, now thinking about how that crossover would work out. Oh no. Well, alright, give it a check on AO3. See if there's see if there's any fanfictions that put those two together. That would be quite entertaining. Let's see, how about like Miss Frisbee and the Rats of Sunnydale? Or what was it? The Secret Life of Arietti and Buffy? There we go. The pipe in Mickey's other arm was connected to a drip, hanging on a standard, shiny metal stand, and while she didn't know what it contained, Buffy figured it couldn't be anything good, so she leaned over the girl and plucked that needle out as well. That just left the chains, one wrapped around her waist and one each around her wrists, that fastened her in place. The chains looked sturdy enough, but were fastened with what looked like green stone padlocks. She wondered at their mystical significance for all of a second, before smashing the first one off with her axe. The other two were disposed of in the same way, and Buffy unraveled the chains quickly. So would use the extended universe Disney Mouse first. Rescuers, Chip and Dale, Great Mouse Detective. Yeah, sure. It was only then that Buffy noticed the images swirling deep within the weird water bowl, far deeper than should have been possible given the shape of the container. She leaned over for a better look, and saw an armored man wreathed in flame. A dream, or vision, or memory, or whatever. That explains the video camera, she though. Looking up, she saw that the tape had been removed, which meant Weird Eye Guy had a video recording of Makisha's memories. Given the lengths he'd gone to in order to obtain them, Buffy couldn't help but worry about potential consequences. Mickey murmured something in her native hell language, followed by an all-too-human whimper. Buffy scooped up the girl, carefully folding the wings and draping the tail so she wouldn't trip over them. Gotta get this kid some food, mused the Slayer. Even with wet hair, she weighs almost nothing. And with that, Buffy left the building, pausing only to pick up the fallen video cassette by the stairs. She didn't encounter any more demons, and she didn't run into Pat the vampire. She didn't care. Zombies and ghouls patrolled the town, moaning and scratching at doors, or feasting on the recently dead. She and Jack had helped herd some of the livestock indoors, but any pets and animals left outside had been killed and eaten hours ago. The townsfolk cowered in their homes. locked doors and barred windows sufficient to keep the shambling undead at bay. Jack had set up a command post in the town hall, with guards and archers stationed at barricades around the building's exterior. Not that arrows were much use against zombies. They even got back up after one of Jack's lightning bolts. That was just rude. Mickey and Jack in a sort of Diablo or Diablo 2 style situation here.
I think you did Jack's voice last time.
Yeah, that makes sense. He would be a very Adoleth style character, given given Isa's proclivities. But, just realizing I was dreaming about Disney characters last night. I was having some sort of a sparring match with Donald and one of the nephews. I beat the crap out of them. They weren't in very good fighting shape for some reason. Anyway, nobody cares. Miki, can you go up and take a look around? I need to know what they're doing. On it! She spread her wings, pulled in her magic, and sprung upward, facing harmlessly through the roof of the great hall and soaring up into the air. It was weird seeing zombies roaming around during the day. She really only expected undead to be active during the night. But these guys apparently hadn't got the memo. Cow dimension incoming? Yeah, alright, that's probably next chapter. Most of the moldies were just wandering about at random with nothing to attack. A reminder that Donald Duck is one of the 5 most powerful spellcasters in the Final Fantasy multiverse. Ah, yes, as part of the whole Kingdom Hearts arrangement. Though Disney doesn't tend to acknowledge that Kingdom Hearts exists outside of very small nods in the form of like merch. Like, you can have a Sora keychain. Otherwise, please stay in your corner of the world and don't touch our theme parks, alright? The ghouls were sneakier, capable of opening any unlocked doors they found, and smart enough to hide and wait for prey, but they also died way easier. Whoever had unleashed the curse of undeath was going to be in big trouble once this mess was sorted out. Verity liked to reincarnate her dead souls, and she found animated corpses to be personally offensive. She spied a bunch of zombies clumped up at a gate, pushing uselessly against the ironwork. A graveyard? Were they trying to recruit more zombies? Was there something important going on? Mickey swooped in for a better look. The place was pretty well sheltered by bushy green trees, and she heard the twang snap of a bow an instant before the arrow smacked into her side. Oi! She paused to snap the thing off and toss it away before looking for the culprit. A second arrow sailed past her ear, and she blinked in surprise. It was a skillybob wearing a metal hat. It clacked its jaw at her and knocked another arrow. Oh yeah? Mickey pulled her pitchfork out of nowhere and hurled it at the bony menace. The spikes passed either side of its skinny neck, shattering the bones and neatly knocking the skull off. The rest of it fell into a pile. Kingdom Heart Disneyland. Right next to regular Disneyland, and everyone in Disneyland pretends it doesn't exist. Yeah, that seems about right. So Rain, you being the Loremeister that you are, who are the other 4 most powerful multiverse Final Fantasy spellcasters? I have some ideas from Final Fantasy XIV, giving me, glimpses of the very powerful characters, but given the wrinkle that Kingdom Hearts puts on things, I'm not confident in my guesses. Like, I would think that Emmett Selk would probably be way up there, but I don't really know how he stacks up against, say, Kuja or Sephiroth or something. Like, I don't know how if you're putting the entire multiverse together, I don't know how they rank. Stupid thing. Jack was going to be so annoyed. There were probably loads more skellies buried in the graveyard, which meant things were about to get way worse. Yeah, Kafka's got to be up there somewhere. If not in the top 5, then close. She decided to tidy up the pack of zombies, since they were all in one place. At least then she'd have some good news to report. She knew stabbing them wouldn't be very effective, but it wouldn't take that long to pummel them into broken mush. Okay, so 2 of them are versions of Bahamut, 2 others are final bosses. Final Fantasy XIV came out after that was calculated. Okay, so a couple of Bahamuts, that makes sense. So final bosses, it could be like, yeah, it could be any of the, like, how do you measure this kind of thing? Zeromus can do, like, black hole and things very similar to Sephiroth's supernova. Kafka was powerful, but not necessarily as a spellcaster. You need a new ranking, new tier list. Miki woke up in an unfamiliar place. Her brain hurt and her joints felt stiff, so she didn't move immediately. She opened her eyes and even they hurt. She felt like somebody had rubbed sand in her eyes and everything she looked at was blurry and dim. Assess your situation, she thought automatically. Concentrate on what you have. Identify threats. Her situation was pretty crappy. She'd been poisoned before and recognized the signs. She forced herself to study her surroundings, squinting to make out details. She was on a bed. It was soft. She was lying on her side with a drool-soaked towel under her chin. She was wearing her dress, and her boots were on her feet, so that was good. She closed her eyes and forced her arm to reach for her pitchfork, closing her throbbing fingers around nothing, just to be sure she could still connect with her magical weapon. To her considerable relief, the hell-forged weapon was right where she left it, ready to be summoned the instant she needed it. But not yet. She would keep it in reserve in case things got serious. Call back to chapter 1, yeah, the same litany that she runs through is drilled into her head by Jack as soon as she wakes up in a new location not knowing where she is, which happens a lot. Sometimes it's just different locales, like here. Sometimes it's across random dimensions, like at the start of the story, and she never knows until she assesses which it is.
There's a lot of Mickey's behaviour and responses that are almost programmed. You'll spot them.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, Mickeyisms.
Very, so deeply trained that they are reflexive habits, things that happen on trigger without thought, yeah. Do you think she's going to be okay? Asked Willow. Buffy nodded grimly. Absolutely not a clue. I don't know what they dosed her up with, or what long-term effects it's gonna have. All we can do is hope she's tough enough to fight through it. The Slayer glanced up at the ceiling, thinking about the girl sleeping on Willow's bed. She could probably heal herself if she weren't chock full of Hellmouth energy. She needs good magic for that, huh? Yeah. Not much of that around these parts, and I doubt that she's in any fit state to... Buffy's eyes widened. Whoa! Willow recoiled as Buffy sat bolt upright and then sprang out of her seat. Buffy? What's wrong? Something big. Something bad. The Slayer shook her head. I felt it, and then it's gone. She blinked. God, Mickey. The girls ran up to Willow's bedroom. Xander sat on a wooden chair outside the door and watched with wide eyes as Buffy charged to the door and pushed it open. Mickey! She yelled. Oh, no shouting. The imp clamped her hands over her pointed ears. Xander and Willow pushed into the room behind Buffy.
Mickey, are you okay?
demanded Xander, eliciting a frowny growl from the devil girl. Shh, she hissed. No, I'm not okay. I hurt all over. My eyes hurt. My skin hurts. My teeth hurt. Even my hair hurts. Buffy grimaced. Yeah, about that. You can change your hairstyle anytime you want, right? Long or short or whatever? The imp blinked groggily at her. Bleh? Only it looks like somebody stole a bunch of your hair. She meant it literally. The girl usually wore her hair in 2 bunches, and one of them was missing, untidily clippered away almost to the scalp. Mickey hung her feet over the side of the bed and sat unsteadily upright, her dark ringed eyes unfocused. She reached up to feel the back of her head. Stole my hair? She croaked. That's stupid. They poisoned me to steal my hair? I'm pretty sure they drained a bunch of blood as well, added Buffy uncomfortably. Mickey looked mortified. My blood? But I need my blood. I thought those guys were nice. If you mean Pat and Sven, they had nothing to do with it. Huh? Oh. In fact, they helped with the rescue. She chose not to mention that one or both of the vampires had given their unlife to save her, figuring the imp was in a bad enough state right now without adding emotional distress. Mickey just stared. I'm confused, and I don't feel very good. Can I have a drink of water and a hug? Xander turned and hurried away to fetch a glass of water, leaving the girls alone. Willow sat gingerly beside the imp and put an arm around her shoulders. There, she murmured. Everything's gonna be okay. Mickey slumped against the redhead and closed her eyes. Why does everybody keep trying to do horrible stuff to me? She whined. I'm trying to be good. Why can't they just let me do my thing? Buffy crouched down before the imp. I'm pretty sure I know who did it, and if you want to get some revenge, I've got a nice dull knife you can use to carve out his spleen. Don't need a knife, whispered Mickey. I'm gonna use my fingernails. She held out a hand and stared in bafflement at the bloody scabs on the ends of her fingers. She checked her other hand and found the same thing. Somebody had gone at her claws with a pair of clippers and cut them down to ragged stubs. They stole my fingernails? She gasped. Hair, fingernails, and blood are all potent spell components, Willow said. This could be really bad. What do you mean, could be? Isn't it bad enough already? Xander returned with the drink, and Mickey lurched to her feet to accept it with both hands. Pausing to steady herself, she took a big gulp, swallowed it down, and promptly threw up on the carpet. Roinicorn is drafting multiverse fanfic even as of this moment. Right, that's chapter 45. A hefty one. Overlapses. What about hair and fingernails make them potent spell components? It is the rule of... oh god, what is it called? It's not... correspondence is the general thing. Sympathy. The rule of sympathy. It's like...
sympathetic magic, like voodoo.
Yeah. So the idea is that if you... any literal piece of another entity retains a sort of mystical or metaphysical connection to its origin. Yeah, contagion, another word for it, right. Well, contagion kind of gets into other aspect, but yeah, sympathy, contagion. Homeopathy. So if you have a piece of the person you want to cast a spell on, it helps like bridge the gap of distance because you can sort of act through the piece of them through that sympathetic connection as a sort of metaphysical conduit out to the target. And yeah, so hair and fingernails and so on, they're the kind of thing that it is a piece of the person, so you can use it in that way, and it's often you can kind of sneakily obtain it without the person knowing that you have it because they're like, hair and nails and things. You kind of shed them, you cut them off, or hair falls off bit by bit over time, so you can obtain bits of them.
Yeah, your hair and your nails, they're the bits that they say, this continues to grow after it's been removed and after you die. Therefore, it's still got some of your life force in it.
So there's that aspect to it too. Right, yeah. So, I mean... Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if blood if they would say, blood continues to grow, but blood's got its own mystical significance, hasn't it?
Right, yeah. Blood is so important to the ongoing vital function of the entire body that it is, sort of metaphorically, metaphysically potent in that regard. Is that... no, because mages don't use their own hair and fingernails generally. They don't need a sympathetic conduit to themselves. They're standing right there. I see. Oh, I see what you mean. Removing your own hair and fingernails. Yeah, that can be a thing. Like, if you're like very paranoid about somebody getting a hold of sympathetic components of you, then being very careful to like clean up every little last scrap of yourself left behind could be a thing. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I realized that a moment after I started talking. Right, going, streamer brain. You as part of the training in avoiding dead air, I like begin talking before I've entirely thought through the thought ahead, and sometimes that leads me down the wrong blind alley, and I have to back up a bit after I realize what's actually the topic at hand. Yeah. But yeah, like, if you had cut off a person's entire hand or something, that would be a much more powerful sympathetic talisman than simply a lock of hair. But yeah. The more weighty or intimate a connection the object has with the person, the more powerful it is in magic. Like, you can also, in a lot of these theories of witchcraft, especially if they have hairy hands, even an item that is very sort of personally important to the individual can be used sympathetically, like maybe a wedding ring or a cherished photograph or something that they've sort of invested a lot of their personal, emotional energy and attention into, can be sympathetically powerful. But if you can get a literal piece of them, that is choice. Okay. Chapter 46. Nobody told me there'd be a dress code.
Okay, this first scene is 2 male voices.
Okay.
Take your pick.
So, let's see. We have a wing captain and some kind of underling of the wing captain?
The underling captain.
Underling captain. Underwing. Well, guest of honor.
It's a bit of a spoiler because I know who the wing captain is.
Okay, well, fair. But
I'll do him.
okay, yeah. And yeah, guest of honor, you should be the more ranking character, and Addie, being the whipping boy, should be the underling. Thanks. Oh, come on. You know you would probably get some sort of thrill out of being whipped. Well, that's all depending on the circumstances. Okay. Deep within the ziggurat of everlasting love, two winged figures stood by a blazing white pool. You sent for me, Wing Captain?
Eek.
The anomaly you detected has been observed once again.
A breach?
An energy conduit from the 8th infernal plane to the mortal realms. A single pulse.
You have the target location?
Alas, no. The conduit was established, then immediately broken. Testing the connection, maybe?
Instruct the sentinels to maintain observation of the site.
Yes, Wing Captain. I obey.
And prepare my panoply. I shall prepare for battle.
As you command. Capture or kill?
Kill. Always kill.
One wonders why they even bothered to ask, then. So I'm guessing this isn't a DNA thing, because I don't need people cursing me by stealing a glass I drank from. Yeah, that... Right. Again, it's... So the idea is the stronger the connection to the person, the stronger the sympathetic connection, and thus the more effective it's going to be in establishing a link between your spell and its intended recipient. You can work with something like a glass or something that they've sort of touched to their bodily fluids like that, is that there is a sympathetic connection there. It's just not necessarily as good as having a vial of their blood or something. It's a pretty weak connection. So, and again, depending on the theory of magic or the particular piece of fiction depicting it, that could mean it's harder to sort of draw a bead on the target, so that maybe you can't get the spell to take at all if you're not sufficiently skilled to hit kind of a weak, focused destination. Or it might be that, as long as you have something, you can get a spell to go through, but the effects might be very minimal. Like if you're trying to curse them with something deadly, you might only be able to manage a mild discomfort or inconvenience level of hex with a very poorly sympathetically linked object, as opposed to a more intimately one. Right, if the glass itself wouldn't, like if you can kind of get the sample of the saliva, that's actually, a bodily fluid that's originated from the person's body. It might be a little bit, So it depends on the magic system, it depends on the theory, but the overall concept of a sympathetic link, Yes, right, and oftentimes in these systems, it has to do with negotiating with a spirit. It's not an abstract magical stratum that you're working through. You use the sympathetic object to direct the spirits at your target. It's like, okay, spirit, go do such and such to the person whose spit is on this glass. And if the spirit is capable of following that connection, then you can get them to where they need to go to do what you want them to do. If the spirit is not so adept or strong or perceptive, maybe that spirit needs something more intimate. Or the spirit... Now then you get into the whole question of offerings too, because often spell components are... Like you'll need both a component that establishes a link to your target and something to give to the spirit to pay for their service, right? You have to consume something in a way that the spirit can appreciate or donate it to the spirit in some way. Yeah. Oh, and okay, right. And sort of the effort that you went to assemble the spell components shows your kind of dedication to the effort that a spirit might appreciate, yeah. Hmm. Double meanings are funny, you know it's meant, but vodka cares about heretic. Yeah. There's probably some magic system where different alcohols are mean different things to spell work. Yeah, sure. I mean, I do know that
a concept.
What?
There's a concept, some kind of magical barman.
Yeah. I do know that I have certainly seen fictional works of magic where different kinds of drink were one of the offering style components that, they're being, intoxicating celebratory substances. They're often very good things to gift to spirits. Yeah. Dipsomancy. Literally potions and alchemy, yeah. Mickey woke up again in the comfy bed with the first rays of sunlight peeking around the curtains. She threw back the covers and swung her bare legs out. A good night's rest does a world of good, unless you're bleeding. As she'd hoped, her exemplar body had worked the drugs out of her system quickly, and now she felt much better. Not quite 100 million%, but pretty good. She wiggled her toes in the plush carpet, then hopped up and decided to go find Willow. This was her house, after all. Should write something about wizards creating the Bavarian Reinheitsgebot, because it makes the beer more potent for magic. What is that? And I probably mangled the pronunciation, but I tried to make it sound German or Bavarian-ish. Yesterday had been busy and confusing, and given the choice, she'd have done some things differently. Aw, nuts. I forgot to ask Snyder about the swimming pool thing. She wandered out of the room and realized she'd never been here before. Did Willow have parents? Surely she couldn't afford this house all by herself, and Mickey didn't want to walk in on some strangers in bed. That could be all kinds of awkward. They might scream, or call the police, or invite her in for snuggles. You just never knew. She gave the problem a moment's thought and chose the best solution. "Willow!" she yelled. "I'm awake! Where are you? Are you still asleep?" "No," came the laughing reply. "I'm in the kitchen." Well, that was no help unless... Mickey sniffed and detected food. Her nose wasn't super-duper like Jack's, but she could track foodie smells well enough. She found the stairs and skipped down, humming a happy tune to herself. A set of laws strictly regulating beer. Ingredients, production, everything. The thing is like 500 plus years old. Oh.
Wow.
So, huh. Did Willow have parents? I suppose that wouldn't be an assumed default for American teenagers, yeah. But, Mickey lives in some very tragic circumstances and all. Never know. People are orphans, right?
Has a unique view of parents.
Right. Willow looked up as Mickey entered the kitchen, swathed in a cream-colored t-shirt that was far too large, but nonetheless covered her wings without being uncomfortable. In her drug-addled state, they worried she might not be able to keep her manifested clothing under control, so this was their backup plan. To be fair, Willow effectively doesn't have parents unless their presence would be harmful to her. I don't remember that thing. What was that about?
Only there when it's inconvenient for the plot.
If you want to insult Bavarians, insult their beer. That's their true pride. Hopefully she hadn't shredded the shirt. It belonged to Willow's mom. The imp's tail trailed behind her, still safely wrapped in Xander's foam and cardboard invention. Willow tried not to wonder what had inspired it, but she was glad he'd made it, whatever the reason. "Ready for some breakfast?" she asked as the imp walked over. "You're making food?" Willow nodded. "Yep." "I love food. Have you tried guava?" No, don't think so." They're never there unless her mother wants to murder her in one episode. Okay, so it's sort of it's not a mystical truth of the setting, it's more of a writerly convenience of screenwriting kind of thing. And then blows it off like it was nothing up to the mind control hands. "Next time, we'll do a sleepover at my place and have guava. I've got tins and tins of it, and I know where to get more." She smiled contentedly. "It's my new favorite tin thing." "You have a lot of tin stuff?" "Oh, sure, loads. Tins and dried stuff and snacky bars, mostly." Mickey shrugged. "I can't cook stuff in the cave. The smell might attract baddies. Also, Jack says you shouldn't make fires in your house unless you're really careful." She shrugged. "I'm usually pretty careful, but fire is tricksy." Willow nodded. "That it is." "I don't have a refrigerator either, so tins are extra good." "I hope you have a spare opener," advised Willow. Nothing was more frustrating than a cupboard full of food and no way to get at it. Quantum parents, you never know if they exist until you check for assassins. Mickey raised her hand to look at it. "Oh, yay, my nails grew back." She flexed her fingers. "I can open stuff up with my nails if I have to." Willow was pretty sure stuff didn't strictly mean just food. "How about pancakes? You like pancakes?" The imp nodded enthusiastically. "That sounds great." "Okay, you want to go grab a quick shower or something while I get everything ready?" Mickey didn't need to shower, but she did enjoy them, so once Willow gave her directions, she shrugged out of the borrowed t-shirt and ran off to find the bathroom, naked and giggling. She remembered that she hadn't checked whether Willow's parents were home, but so far so good. She messed with the dials and squirted herself with smelly soapy stuff until she felt more human. Or humanish. Close enough, whatever. Once she was done, she turned off the spray and teleported clear, leaving the residual water and suds behind in a momentary Mickey shape, a trick that always made her grin. She manifested a fluffy robe and dashed back to the kitchen just as Willow was sliding pancakes onto the plates. Food! They never stood a chance. There was nobody to see, so she simply picked up the hot pancakes and made them into syrupy sandwiches. Willow used cutlery for hers and was still eating while Mickey turned her attention to the fruit bowl. "I have cereal," she offered, ever the generous host. "Only the healthy types, though." Mickey tilted her head. "There are non-healthy types?" Willow mentally kicked herself as she confessed that, yes, there were a great many breakfast cereals that were a little more than sugar and bright colors, in a variety of amusing shapes. They sounded like great fun to Mickey, who said so. "I don't have anywhere to keep milk, though, so I'd have to eat it all at once." She thought about her options. "Xander could help me eat some of it. I bet he likes frosted stuff." "He does, but he'd have to get up very early if he wanted to visit you in time for breakfast." "Oh, yeah, he would," she agreed carefully, earning a shrewd look from the redhead. "Wouldn't he?" she asked. Mickey nodded and backtracked. "Oh, yeah, silly plan. Forget I said anything." "Right." "Speaking of plans, guess where I'm going today?" To hunt down whoever drugged you last night and inflict your terrible revenge?" The imp scratched her chin, suddenly thoughtful. Yeah. But no. Larry's taking me to the zoo." Willow blinked. "Oh, I wasn't expecting that, but even though, well, Giles already told Buffy yesterday, and Buffy told me last night, but I was still assuming you would be looking for revenge. Hell-bent, even. I am, obviously, but I'm also hell-bent on going to the zoo with Larry, and that has to happen this morning, because he's got sports practice this afternoon. The girl wandered across the kitchen and opened a cupboard at random. She peeked inside and then closed it. Besides, whoever drugged me is going to be just as dead if I leave it a few hours. She peeked into another cupboard and closed it. Or even tomorrow. She checked another. Or even the next day. She checked the last cupboard in the row and closed it. Okay, I give up. Where's the cereal? Willow mutely pointed to the cupboard she just tried. Mickey frowned and reopened it. She crouched and peered in. Nope. The plastic container with the gray lid and the, brown flakes? The imp reached in and pulled out the container, lifted it close to her face, and frowned at it. Really? This is what you have for breakfast? Bran flakes. My dad likes them. Brown flakes? Bran. Mickey pulled a face. I'm not hungry anymore. She put the container away and shut the door. So, as I was saying, revenge is a thing best served old. Do you mean cold? No, old. Willow hesitated, but couldn't stop herself correcting the imp. I think the saying is a dish best served cold. That's silly. It means you leave the revenge for a while until it's old. Then they stop watching out for you, and when you get them it's easier, and way more surprising. We say cold, and also we generally only say it if you're leaving it more than a few hours. Well, I normally squish my enemies, immediately, so whoever it is, they're super lucky I have stuff to do today. Mickey cracked her knuckles grimly. But they better not make any long-term plans. Murgon checked his laptop, read the long figure in the middle of the display for the 7th time, and chuckled quietly to himself. His first auction lot, a bundle of samples with accompanying video clip, had just sold for a touch over $500,000. The anonymous recipient would be buying the spell components to summon an actual succubus and bind her to his will for at least 48 hours. Possibly longer, depending on the strength of the spellcaster. The spell itself was fairly simple, leveraging the principles of similarity and focus to forge a link to the Devil Girl's home dimension, which, according to the videotape, was a vast palace known as the Temple of Hedonism. There we go, different words for, sympathy and contagion, etc. The similarity and focus. Yeah, principles. The temple was seemingly home to hundreds of lust demons. If the spell worked as well as Gus had promised it would, Murgon was going to be obscenely wealthy. He didn't even need to pay the Caitliff demons their cut, since the Vampire Slayer had given them a few cuts of her own, so to speak. Considering how worthless their security services had proven, he wouldn't have paid their fee anyway, but this was far more convenient.
And to think, those stupid vampires wanted to kill the kid.
He flexed his wounded shoulder and cursed under his breath. His species were tough, and healed supernaturally quickly, but the axe wound hurt like hell and was going to leave a nasty scar. Still muttering, he shrugged into a jacket and waited for the courier to collect his first shipment. He'd have to work on a plan to obtain more stock. Maybe Sheridan could be useful. Oh, hey, Will. How's the patient? Buffy idly twirled the phone cable, glad that her mother couldn't hear the conversation over the TV. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, replied Willow. Well, not literally. Her actual tail, I mean. Anyway, she's fine. She's had something to eat and left. She left? What? Nothing to worry about. She's gone to the zoo. Got a late date with Larry Bladell, remember? Buffy blinked. Yeah, I remember. Just surprised she did. Looks like a good night's sleep sorted everything out. Nails grew back, hair's all sorted. She seems to be back to normal. Well, normal-ish. They shared a laugh, and Willow asked about the night's patrol. Pretty standard stuff. I went back to that creepy basement to grab my weapons. Picked up a couple of spares, too. All the magic stuff got burned up, which kinda sucks. They might have been clues. She took a breath. No sign of our green-eyed man, of course. And I didn't run into any more... She checked her mom wasn't within earshot. Any more of those spiky-headed demons. I figure if any survived, they'll have gone to ground for serious wound lickage. Did you find Mickey's other vampire friend? Pat? No, pretty sure he got dusted. His friend was pretty angry, right up until a magic ball vaporized his liver. That's a shame. Yeah, well, I'm not going to shed any tears over it. In truth, the fact that 2 vampires had given their own lives to help rescue the imp was more than a little unsettling. What are you going to tell Mickey? Nothing, unless she asks. No witnesses, as far as I know. She'll probably assume they just left town or something. I can honestly say I didn't kill him, at least. That's good, I guess. I think she'd be unhappy if she thought you'd killed her friends. She'll forget all about them, trust me. You say she's out all day? Well, a few hours at least. Larry's got practice this afternoon. Why? One of Xander's uncles was throwing out some furniture. It's only cheap flat pack stuff, but you can break it down as small as you need for transport. We're going to smuggle it into the imp cave as a surprise. You're going to assemble furniture? Even over the phone, Willow sounded doubtful. Xander is going to assemble furniture. I'm just along for the lift and carry, moral support, and possibly the handing over of screwdrivers or whatever. On the other end of the phone, Willow felt a nagging unease at how familiar Xander seemed to be. Apparently welcome to visit Mickey's lair anytime he wanted, but she wasn't sure how to put it into words. She wasn't even quite what it was she suspected, so she kept quiet. And after that? She asked instead. After that, I need to check in with Giles and tell him what's next. I gave him a call already, but I have something for him to look at. How about you? Got any plans? Well, the spare room carpet still smells a bit like devil sick, so there's that. Ew. Yeah. When Larry arrived at the zoo entrance, he was astonished to find Mickey wearing tan shorts and a pith helmet. Mickey? What the hell? I thought you were a mascot or something. Definitely, or something. Mickey grinned and pointed at a poster of the zoo's cartoon spokesperson, Safari Sam. It's important to wear appropriate attire, she said. Larry shrugged. He was wearing his Letterman jacket, as usual, and felt like he was missing out on some fun. Nobody told me there'd be a dress code, he complained jokingly. Mickey sniffed, but smiled indulgently. It's fine, I'm sure. I'll be happy to serve as your guide on this safari. Excellent, he replied, getting into character. In that case, I shall be happy to fund this morning's expedition. At her blank look, he clarified, I'll buy the tickets. I brought money, she protested, but Larry held up a hand. I insist. You can buy us some snacks while we go around if you like. Very well, Mr. Bladell. I accept your offer of employment. She straightened her helmet. I've been learning all about animals in the library, all of them. She fixed him a steely gaze. Even giraffes. Mickey received a few amused stares from other visitors as she led Larry around by the hand, pointing at anything and everything, sometimes with an overly knowledgeable air, but mostly with absolute glee. Crocodiles! Look, that one's yawning! Yup. What are these little things? They're so cute. Meerkats? Look, they live in a burrow. The discovery that visitors could crawl under the meerkat enclosure and see the burrow from within was almost more than the imp could bear, and she blinked happy tears from her eyes as she waved to the little creatures in their den. Hello, little guys, she crooned. They're so adorable. They kind of remind me of, nobody. Nope, just cute little animals. Yep. Larry watched her in bemusement as she wandered away to find something else. Hey, Larry, look! Giant piggies! Those are hippos? They look like somebody got a big gray pig and blew it up really big. I guess? Pretty sure that's not what those are, though. I don't think pigs are that color. Oh, you're right. Pretty weird, huh? Poor meerkat not even given privacy in the den. Yeah. Zoo animals got it rough in a lot of ways. That's one of them, right? A short while later, she insisted that tigers were called tigers. She even spelled it out for him. Tigger. There's even a song about it. Larry just shrugged. Well, can't argue if there's a song about it, can I? Later still, she paused to spell out another strangely named animal. Rhinoceros, she announced. I didn't know zoos had dinosaurs. I thought they were all dead. Oop, I broke it. Pop. Larry chuckled. And Adelath went dark again. Maybe. There we go. Do you want me to tell the right way to say it? Or are you just messing around? Vicky tilted her head. Better give me the right word. I might end up looking silly later. Oops. Slight tech issues, yeah. That's just what happens when I press my buttons too quickly. If I bop back and forth between lighting up me and add, sometimes the little scripts that run to do that get out of sync, and I need to go in and boot them manually to get them back in line. I've managed to go a couple streams without doing it, but today I fumbled it, yeah. Rhinoceros, he said. Or just rhino for short. She repeated it back slowly. Rhinoceros! Hey, that's what I already said. Gotta emphasize the right bit, though, he explained. Or it sounds wrong. Right. And both those words mean the same thing? Rhino and rhinocethingy? You're sure? He nodded. I get it. Hey, I smell food. You want food? It must be nearly lunchtime by now. They had hot dogs and Mickey paid. Toppings are free? She asked and grinned wide when the vendor confirmed that they were. Can I have some of everything?
Your thing, sweetheart.
With extra everything?
If that's how you want it.
The resulting mass of relish, mustard, and especially fried onions should have burned her fingers, but she seemed more than happy with it and tucked in with gusto. I'm having a wonderful time, beamed the imp. I really, really needed this today. It had a rough one yesterday, so a date to the zoo was just what the doctor ordered. Okay, next. So about the hippo earlier, nobody tell her their closest relative and the fact they literally can't swim. Alright, you probably need to fill me in on both these things. I'm not a zoologist. I don't know all that much about hippos. What's the closest relative of the hippo? And what's the deal with hippos not swimming? They just kind of walk along and keep their noses above the water and kind of drift. Whales, wow. That is wild. Okay, needed a swig of drink there. Okay. Okay, so they literally walk and jump on the bottom of the lake or river. Okay, that's pretty cool. And still outrun boats. Dang. Alright, chapter 47 is simply whoops. As your official guide, I say we should go see the bats. Bats are cool. I don't know. Aren't they just creepy flying rats? Bats are cool. Mickey grabbed the big boy by the hand and dragged him to the bat house, a large enclosed building kept in almost total darkness. An attendant waited by the door, mostly to dissuade the idiotic teens who would run into the building, scream once, and run out the other side.
Please be quiet in here.
He asked them.
The bats don't like loud noises.
Mickey nodded solemnly. I know, it'll be good. Larry still didn't look happy, and he was still a little surprised by the way Mickey had dragged him over here, so he followed her in without protest. I don't see anything, he complained. Yeah, prehistoric whales are something else. But for Mickey, she seems like someone that would be shocked by learning whales are not fish. You're probably right about that. But can I still eat him? Keep watching, Mickey told him. Just relax. Wait for your eyes to adjust. She herself had no such limitation, and grinned widely at the darling little critters flitting around and darting little loops at the edges of the empty space. Larry jumped then. Oh, I saw something. It's gone. Oh, over there now? Is that the same one? Nuh-uh. I keep seeing... Man, they're fast. They really zip around, huh? I thought they were blind. No way. That's something people made up. Bad eyes work just fine. They don't need to be special because they've got the squeaky thing. She grinned. These guys are chasing bugs, catching them in midair. In the dark. Larry blinked. Damn, that's pretty hardcore. If I could move like that on the field, I'd be unstoppable. She pointed into the far-off shadows. That little one's still learning, I think. I don't think he's caught anything yet. The attendant had followed the man and leaned close to Mickey.
You must have very good eyesight, miss.
I adjust to the dark very quickly, she lied. I think bats are the coolest.
I see. If I told you one of the colony had a bad wing, could you spot her?
Mickey tilted her head, watched carefully. The one with the brown ears, she guessed. Larry was also getting used to the dark. Is it just me, or are there dozens of bats in here?
I'm sure your guide could count them for you,
chuckled the attendant, but Mickey just shrugged. My English isn't very good, so I'm not best at counting.
Oh? Where are you from?
Moldova.
Ah, good backcountry.
Mickey stared blankly for a moment, then carefully nodded. Yes.
Would you like to come and help me feed one?
The imp jumped up and down with immediate excitement. Yes, 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 please, yes! You now want vampire whales, still with all the superpowers and stuff, just relative to the new size and all. Well, I don't know that I can give you vampire whales, but if you read the Young Wizards books by Diane Duane, there are mage whales, which is pretty dang fun. May we come in? Vampire flops around in the front lawn. See, Larry? They're like tiny little foxies, but with little leathery wings like mine. Like mine would be if I were a tiny bat with wings. Larry shrugged, paying close attention to the floppy-limbed bundle in the attendant's hands. He, really likes watermelon, huh? It's super juicy. They like that. Right. Here, you give him a piece. It's so cool. The attendant nodded, and Mickey handed Larry a tiny chunk of fruit to feed the juvenile rodent. He hesitated, but the critter locked its eyes on the fruit with such adorable determination, he couldn't help but smile and play along. Whales are 100% smart enough to learn magic, and I see no evidence they don't already do magic. Young Wizards lost you around the part where they introduced the hyper-advanced AI hive mind wizard. I don't know if I made it that far or not. I read the first 3 back when I was a kitten, and I thought that's all of them there were, but there's like 11 of them actually, and a couple of short stories. So I reacquired the original trilogy. I'm slowly reading back through it. I have been distracted by video games and my journaling efforts, but I still want to. I kind of stopped at a part where, like, so in the second book, the wizards are off on a beachside vacation. That's the one with the whales, right? And they get caught up in the business of the whale wizards. So they have to keep going out swimming and like shape-shifting to join the whales to do whale wizard things. And they stay out late every night, right? And the parents get worried and they're like, no, you gotta come home by such and so an hour. And they violate that curfew and they're like, they're in tons of trouble. They're supposed to be grounded, basically. And they go out and do it again and they get caught again. And I'm just like, the part of me that gets very cringe at secondhand embarrassment is just like dreading the scene where they are having to confront their parents again. So I kind of stopped there and got sidetracked onto other things. I'm such a softie. Yes, the shark. The shark is scary, but awesome. And yeah, it does start to warm up to the protagonists bit by bit. Even though he, at every turn, reminds them that he could and would eat them if the situation called for it, if they bled too much. Okay. Couldn't help but smile and play along. Okay, here it comes, little guy. Open wide. Afterward, the pair sat on a bench and leaned against one another in companionable silence. Okay, I admit it. The bats were cool. Vicky grinned. I told you, they're super quick and zippy, and the way they find stuff is so clever. Why does everybody say they're blind, though? That's weird. Yeah, the echo thing is as well as their eyes. I never saw one crawl about like that. That was funny. Kinda cute, too. I like their little foxy faces and big ears. Larry shrugged. They are cute, I guess, but I'm a guy. Cute's not really my kind of thing. But I'm cute. You don't mind hanging around with me, do you? He shook his head, smiling. You're way cooler than bats. He chuckled. That said, I'm gonna have to get going soon. I gotta get to practice. Do we have time to go ride on the giraffes? Asked Mickey. I'll be quick, I promise. For the last time, you are not allowed to ride on the giraffes. They're not tamed. They're not horses. They're not trained for riding. He rolled his eyes. Plus, you'd have to climb like 9 feet up to get on their back, and I don't have a saddle or harness or any of that stuff. Mickey flopped back with exaggerated misery and let out a dramatic sigh. Oh, very well, I guess. Maybe next time. Larry sat up straight. Careful where you're flopping there. I nearly fell on you. You could have been crushed. She grinned up at him, gave him a playful shove. Don't worry about me. I'm way stronger than I look, and getting stronger all the time. He looked down at her. You say the strangest things sometimes. I'm a strange little girl, she said, as though that explained it. To be fair, it kinda did. Well, yeah, it's the shark, but it's also the shark. Yes, the sort of shark. The lord of the sharks. Yeah. This setting where halflings ride giraffes. That would be kind of fun.
I can imagine Mickey pulling her face when he tells her she's got to climb 9 feet. It's like, but it's only got 4 feet.
Murgon's courier had arrived by magical portal and collected the first shipment a couple of hours ago, so the demonic broker had some time to kill. He didn't want to saturate the market, and he expected the feedback from the first sale to boost profits for the second batch. He might even get bids from the same customer, since he knew the man was obsessively avaricious. The thought of somebody else owning a pet succubus would drive him crazy. With nothing planned for the rest of the morning, he'd popped the camcorder tape into his machine and let it run through while he enjoyed a nice bottle of brandy. The drink was quickly forgotten once the pictures started rolling. He grabbed his notebook and started scribbling. The girl's name was Mikisha, known to her friends as Mickey. Her official code name was Zaradai, because in that world they didn't know what that meant, and apparently imp was already in use. Several of her friends were succubi or half-breeds, and he took a stab at spelling their names phonetically. Hopefully the girl's childish pronunciation was correct, and she wasn't using nicknames. One of her closest friends was apparently an actual goddess, and at her behest, Mikisha and her companions had battled, defeated, and slain a rival god in Mortal Kombat. She had personally killed dragons, giants, angels, robots, and extraterrestrial horrors from outer space. He desperately wanted to solve the puzzle of traveling between worlds. Portals to pocket dimensions were practically commonplace, as were portals to the various hell dimensions populated by his own kind. But this girl had been to places and times far beyond anything he'd heard of. Murgon would capture her again, and he would unlock her secrets one way or another. But it wouldn't be so easy a second time. She wouldn't fall for the same trick twice, and he doubted the old "does this rag smell like chloroform to you?" line would work. She wasn't that gullible. The obvious solution would be tranquilizer rifles, many of them. Perhaps he could recruit Sheridan and her minions. Yes, that would work. He'd meet up with her at the bar tonight, ply her with drinks, and tell her his plan. For as perhaps underversed in the evil overlord handbook as this guy is, he does pick up on things. Like, I had noticed the fact that in that one clip, Mickey got winged with an arrow because she can't teleport out of the way of a missile that she doesn't see, right? So if she gets shot from ambush, she can get hit with stuff. And put that together with her vulnerability to, drugs, sedative agents, and tranquilizer rifles from ambush sounds like a plan that could work. Risky, because if she discovers the ambush, you're toast, but it could work. Tranquilizer snipers. Unfortunately, tranquilizers are perhaps not known for their, thousands of meters range. So, still gonna be risky. Nature makes sense in real life, but in Young Worlds, entropy is an actual person who is actively working towards giving the gift of death to literally everything alive. Yep. That is the principal villain of the setting. A force of the universe and also an embodied entity who hangs out in sort of dark mirror dimensions. And to make things worse, children need to oppose them because they are further from death than adults. They are the only ones that have a chance of surviving an encounter. Yeah, the younger the wizard, the more sort of raw power they have. So you have to try to train up quick to handle that power
You can't just club them to
non-disastrously.
death with a newborn baby.
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately, you do need enough linguistic development to be able to read and speak to do magic. So, yeah, a literal baby is not maybe the greatest. But as soon as you can get him out of kindergarten, I guess. That is true, Unicorn. Yeah. I think a big cat or a hippo or whatever is a very different type of threat than a otherworldly superhero who can teleport next to you and disembowel you in under a second, though. At least a big cat or hippo needs to physically cross this intervening space in a physically plausible amount of time.
Yeah, wow. Imagine a big cat that just like you shoot it and it's just immediately it's there stood behind you
Yeah.
and miffed.
Literally a newborn AI wizard. It was a huge plot point. Oh boy. Well, I'll see if I get to there. That sounds pretty wild. Yeah, if nothing else, I mean, even if it sort of lost the plot with you, Rhinocorn, it does seem like one of those book series that really takes the rules of its setting to their logical conclusions. Yeah, Displacer Beast. Yeah, Displacer Beast doesn't actually teleport, though. It just, you think that it's in one spot, and you shoot at that, and then nope, it's actually the one behind you is the real one. And that one disembowels you. Yeah.
Yeah, the effect's the same.
Yeah. And in practice, it can look like teleportation, and
Well, except that your tranquilizer dart has just done absolutely nothing.
yeah.
So it's behind you and it's even angrier.
Yeah. Okay. Mickey left Larry at the school gates and jogged away until he was out of sight before doubling back and sneaking to her lair. She blink-zipped herself around the entrance tunnel and stopped in the main living room chamber. She called out, "Honey, I'm home," in case Xander was lurking somewhere, but there was no reply, so he probably wasn't here. Either that or he was asleep in her bed again. It took only a moment to check, and while she quickly confirmed that Xander wasn't in her bed, it was immediately apparent that something else wasn't right. This wasn't her bedroom. There was an actual chest of drawers in here, wooden ones with little handles. There was a little white bedside cabinet at the side of the bed, on which a little plastic lamp now stood. And while the bed itself was still recognizably her bed, the inflatable mattress was now raised off the ground by a proper frame, with a headboard and everything. The metal legs on the corners were made from fancy curly bits, and even had loops where she could fasten handcuffs or whatever. Goggling in surprise, Mickey was fairly sure there was no such thing as a furniture fairy, and it seemed the wrong time of year for Santa to be visiting, even though she'd been exceptionally good. Clearly, this was the work of her friends, and most likely one friend in particular. Her eyes grew wide, and she flitted around the other rooms to see if he'd pimped any of her other stuff, but no, just the bedroom. It's a shame Xander's not here in the bed, she thought, before realizing how naughty that sounded in her head. So I could thank him, she mentally amended. Damn, that didn't really sound any better. She could almost hear Jack laughing. Mickey's dungeon has evolved too. Mickey. Chuckling to herself, she decided to check out the drawers, finding that they opened and closed pretty smoothly, but didn't have anything in them, which made sense. She stood and pondered her options for a while, deciding it would be best to come up with a system before she started filling them with stuff at random. She had plenty of stuff that could be sorted into groups that would logically belong together. She gathered a bunch of batteries, matchboxes, and spare candles. They went into their own drawer. She picked up a marker pen and wondered if Xander would mind her drawing on the drawers. Drawing on drawers. She chuckled again, then gathered up all her art supplies and stuffed them into the next drawer down. The bottom drawer became home to a bunch of random stuff that didn't belong in a group but really needed tidying up. When she'd finished doing that, the bedroom actually looked more like a room in a house, instead of a pile of cushions in the middle of a pile of crud. It was a great improvement, and she still had a whole drawer spare, not to mention the storage space in the bedside cabinet. "I'm going to buy some clothes," she announced, "and for the bedside cabinet, I'm going to buy some handcuffs." Satisfied that she had a plan, she further decided that she was going to have some fruit and then take a nap. Life was good. Buffy knocked loudly on Giles' front door and waited. She gave him a wry smile when he opened it and stood aside without saying a word. Even in broad daylight, caution was a prerequisite of survival in Sunnydale. "Mickey meets the most interesting people," she began, stepping inside. "But not all of them want to be her friend." Giles closed and locked the door.
Yes, you mentioned she'd been kidnapped. Rather foolish of her to accept a drink from strangers, but I suppose that trusting nature is part of her innocent charm.
Buffy frowned slightly at his choice of words. This Murgon guy had her strapped on a big frame with her head dipped into a pool of water. I think it was replaying her memories or something. Giles led the way into his sitting room.
You mentioned as much on the telephone, and I must say it's all very sinister. Am I to take it you saw something you want to discuss?
"Not yet," she replied mysteriously. She produced the purloined videocassette and offered it to the watcher. "I picked this up on our way out. Our bad guys were recording this whole shebang, and this one was in his hand as he ran away." Giles took the tape and squinted at it.
I take it this won't fit into my VCR.
Buffy shook her head. "Wouldn't think so, but I bet the AV Club would have something that can play it."
Ah, yes. Good thinking.
She acknowledged the compliment. "I was also thinking it'd be smarter to sneak in and grab whatever we need and we bring it back here to watch in privacy."
Well, I wouldn't normally approve of stealing school property, but needs must, as they say. And I believe we could have everything back in place before anybody noticed it missing.
"Yeah, and I bet we can hook it up to your VCR and make our own copy while we watch." Giles blinked.
Can do that. Whatever will they think of next?
"I figure we should get everybody together so we don't miss anything."
And perhaps include Makisha herself, as I've no doubt a lot of the footage would be meaningless without context. Assuming she can actually remember the events depicted, that is.
Buffy frowned. "Yeah, we're only assuming the pool was replaying her memories and not actually stealing them. That would suck. I mean, they already got enough of her as it is." Giles raised a brow mildly.
Meaning what exactly?
"Oh, they drained a bunch of her blood, shaved her hair, clipped off her fingernails, that sort of thing. Did I mention?"
No,
he said dryly.
it must have slipped your mind.
"Oh, whoops. Anyway, Will says they'd make pretty good bits for a spell. Like they might be able to summon her, or control her mind, or something else from the big book of badness."
Under normal circumstances, I'm sure that would be true. But according to the Navarro documents, each of the winged devil species were created to represent an undesirable human trait.
Ew. What, like body odor?
More like hatred or jealousy. Although as luck would have it, the Zaradai imps are believed to be a reflection of mankind's disobedience.
He paused to polish his glasses.
The Council's research suggests that not only would such creatures be somewhat resistant to external control, any attempt to cast a spell using their biological components would be doomed to failure.
He smiled thinly.
Quite possibly in a spectacularly disastrous way.
How disastrous are we talking? Is this a bad things happen to bad people sort of thing, or something we need to prevent? Giles could only shrug.
We've no real idea what they're planning. If they suspect Mikisha is a succubus, as I did, they may very well try to summon more.
Buffy winced. Would that work?
Oh, I shouldn't think so. Not at all.
Okay. So, at least Murgon is coming out ahead on the deal to start with $500,000 in his pockets. But the purchaser is going to have a unfortunate surprise and not be very happy with the goods, it sounds like.
Yeah, the bits you just bought are part of something that deliberately is almost incapable of complying with rules.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How many words is chapter 48?
Okay, the next one is 6,500 words, which is...
Oh boy, okay. So we'd better leave that for next time, then. Okay.
fairly sizable.
Yeah, I was thinking I could
Though.
probably fit in another short chapter, but a longer one, it was gonna... you're gonna start being able to hear my stomach growling on the microphone, probably. Alright, well... What?
Oh god, that's what that's from. Alright, okay. Sorry, I just looked up where that line's from.
Oh, don't run, I want to try something?
Wow, yeah, this one gets violent.
Violent, okay, so I should lean heavily on the violence, the violent descriptions, content warnings for next time, okay. Any other teasers or bits of authorial insight that you'd like to leave us with before we draw down?
Let me just check something. Oh yeah, also, we meet Mickey's mother.
Mickey's mother, okay.
Yeah. That's what you get when you try to summon a succubus using Mickey's bits.
Okay. Well, we've certainly met several of Mickey's mother figures of various sorts. I mean, we haven't met Verity very closely, but she's pretty motherly. And we had Mania, who is sort of headmistress style motherly. And okay, Taz would be a pretty long stretch to call her motherly and by any stretch, but but yeah.
More like wicked stepmother.
Wicked stepmother,
End up to a high number.
Okay.
But then again, Suki is not motherly. Suki is an imp matriarch. And they're not super fun. You have a picture.
I guess it's sort of, insofar as demons have DNA, the sort of the genetic, biological mother, I take it.
I'm going to shoot you a picture of Suki.
Okay.
There you
go. Next time is food break in the near. So I don't actually know yet whether I'll be able to do that or not. Rowan Accord, it's going to depend how Moth is feeling and if she wants to head right out to do a grocery run or if she wants to wait another hour or two. So stand by. Definitely start going about your day, but keep an eye on the stream announcements if you want to catch a possible near stream. I also need to check with Moss because I didn't actually confirm for today since we left off last, so I don't know how Moss is doing either. So yeah, I need to check with my co-host and my wife. I have to wait and see. But if so, then yeah, maybe in half an hour, 45 minutes, we will have a Twitch stream with more Nier Automata. Okay. until then, or until next stream, whenever that turns out to be, who knows, maybe this week, being a week off of work, I will squeeze in a random Twitch stream midweek. Never know when it might happen. Until then, live with honor, and your heart is unassailable. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Cheerio, and thanks to everybody for coming.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go, there's no doubt. Gotta get out of this small town. You took my heart from me, now you're everywhere I see. Set me free, let me fly. Let me find new kinds of highs. We're just wasting here, waiting for another year. We both know the score. We've been here once before. So many words unspoken. You took my heart, it's already broken. You don't have to wait, I can take the pain. I will surrender, let me go on a new adventure. Explore the world and find my place. Hope you find some peace of mind. Hope the night was worth your time. Threw my heart away, we won't see another day. We both know the score. We've been here once before. So many words unspoken. You took my heart, it's already broken. You don't have to wait, I can take the pain. Let me go. It's a new adventure. On a new adventure. You'll find me dancing on my own. Nowhere to be, nowhere to go. In the rhythm I don't think of you. Don't call me up when you're feeling blue. You'll find me dancing on my own. Nowhere to be, nowhere to go. In the rhythm I don't think of you. Let me go. It's a new adventure. It's a new adventure. I will surrender. On a new adventure, I will surrender. Let me go on a new adventure.